Hey there, welcome to day 135 of our BU 365-day challenge to do one thing every day that improves us. We're focusing on our financial well-being, the financial area and aspects of our life as we go through the life framework. And I haven't shared this for a while, so let's pull up our graphic of the life framework and the different areas that we're discussing this year. Physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, we've done already. We're working on financial now. Next month, we'll do relationships, then contribution, and then communication and confidence. And I can't remember which is first, communication or confidence, but I mapped it out on a calendar, so we'll cover it all. And then the end of the year, we're going to do something even more fun and special to really reinforce the things that we've talked about, learned, answer your questions, and make sure that we're all set to automatically do one thing every day that improves us, not only for this year, but for the rest of our lives, because proving that it's not really as hard as we think it is. Now, today's topic is one that I guess a lot of us would say or admit on the surface that we never think about or doesn't impact us. It's our scarcity, our stories of scarcity and lack. Now, if I'm honest, the majority of my life, scarcity and lack, really not having enough or not, not having enough food, not having enough money to do things, has really, compared to everybody else on the planet, never really existed for me. Yet in my mind, I have told myself stories of scarcity and lack with the best of us, right? We all paint pictures of, and in our minds create situations and stories that a lot of the times aren't true. They're not true for us. They're not true for anyone else, but we make them up because they make us feel comfortable in an uncomfortable way, if that makes any sense whatsoever. Because sometimes I think about what I'm thinking and I'm like, that makes no sense. Why would I ever have thought that? So today we're going to think about all of the stories that we tell ourselves, because all the stories we tell ourselves and other people as well are just that. They're stories. They're incomplete stories. They're just little pieces, little snippets of our life, our thoughts, our feelings, our beliefs, and our experiences, right? So I was thinking about, okay, well, what are some of the times when I have felt like I was the most doubtful, the most worried, the most skeptical, the most fearful about my financial situation? And it's interesting that the times that I felt that way, that actually started to show up, and I created those things in my life and in my businesses because of the way I was thinking. And in other situations, it was just the opposite. I remember being in college and I had $25 a week spending money, right? Now, it's like being in jail. Your housing, your clothing, your food is all paid for and provided. So, and your actually entertainment and education, it was all paid for up front. But then I had $25 a week spending money. And the poverty level in the United States today is $35 a day for a single person. So I was doing $25 a week, and I didn't feel poor at all, right? I didn't feel at all lack or scarcity in that time. And that would be considered way below the poverty level, right? Even though, my regular expenses and things were paid for. I would think most people would consider being incarcerated a lack and scarcity example. So then other times when I've had health challenges in my life, I had a sudden cardiac arrest in 2010 and huge medical expenses, more medical expenses than I could ever have imagined for myself. And obviously wasn't able to work. So income was reduced, still had some income, had insurance, but still there was a big chunk of money that I was responsible for coming up for. And I definitely felt stressed out, overwhelmed, worried, and fearful about how was I going to take care of those things. And it was a challenge. Same thing happened when in the early 1910s, mid 1910s, as my vision started to go, I was getting more doubtful and more worried about, well, how am I going to take care of myself? How am I going to provide for myself? What am I going to do if I am blind? Well, I've been legally blind for 3 or 4 years now. I finally reached that threshold of, okay, I really can't see squat, but I'm still going to keep moving. And I figured it out. I have been telling myself stories of doubt and fear, but I've also been giving myself permission to realize and look at them from the outside in and say, okay, well, even if you're blind, you can still function as a human being, right? Even if you're deaf or if you have any other disability or challenge or health challenge. Chronic pain has been a huge part of my life and different family members and close relationships throughout my entire life. And one of the things that, you have to figure out, just like lack and scarcity is, okay, I guess I have an abundance of pain, right? Abundance of challenges, which I think is awesome, right? Because every time there's a challenge, we can tell our story about it from a lack and scarcity perspective, or we can tell ourselves a story about it from an abundance perspective. I look back on my 20s now and I think, oh, I had an abundance of time in bed, right? I wasn't bedridden. I had an abundance of time in bed. And if we do that, if we tell ourselves that story, we feel a lot better than if we're focusing on what isn't working. And it's easy to focus on the negative and what isn't working. It's easy to compare ourselves to others and think that we're not enough or that we don't have enough money. There will always be someone richer than you. Unless, of course, you're Elon Musk or somebody or whoever the richest person in the world is right now. There'll always be somebody richer. Or even if you're the richest, somebody is going to surpass you, even if you're whatever when it comes to finances. And we have to decide what and how do we define lack and scarcity. Now, I make it really, 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 really hard to feel lack and scarcity these days. And we have the ability to change our definition of those things and what makes us feel that way. It's like sacrifice. I hate the word sacrifice. And if you're in business circles at all, the entrepreneurial world or the online marketing world, you hear scarcity and hustle all the time. And so I've redefined those words to me, and scarcity and hustle and sacrifice, I meant. I don't sacrifice anything. If I'm making a choice and a decision to do something, that's not a sacrifice. That's me exercising my personal power and freedom to make choices that are right for me. And that if we're doing what's right for us and it feels good to us, that's not a sacrifice. I spent a lot of hours in my lifetime working, and I sometimes felt like it was a sacrifice. I was compelled and pulled in different directions because I wanted to be doing more things with my kids, but I was making choices for the businesses, or for when in corporate America, for corporate, I felt like I had to do certain things, even if they took them away from my family. And that's one of the biggest reliefs after leaving corporate America, was not having to make that choice. If my kids had a game, I went to their game. If my kids had a tournament, I went to their tournament. I didn't have to say, I can't go, you guys, I have to work. I have to travel. I traveled a lot for one of my corporate jobs, and it was kind of miserable. My husband ended up having pneumonia, and the kids were little, and a lot of work. So lessons learned. And I guess that we can feel lack and scarcity in all different areas and aspects of our life, right? Not just with respect to money. So today our assignment is, and if you haven't ever felt lack or scarcity in any way, shape, or form, God bless you. Share in the comments below so we can learn from you. COVID-19, I would say one of the biggest impacts of COVID-19 we'll find in the future has been what it did to people's level of uncertainty, fear, lack, and scarcity mentality. Because all of a sudden you had a job and you were making a decent income and everything was going along smoothly, and then you're shut down in your home for months on end with little or no income trickling in, or none. And you're figuring out, how do I feed the kids? How do I entertain the kids? How do I teach my kids at home? All kinds of things were thrown on people that they've never had to deal with before. So I would think a lot of lack and scarcity stories, if you didn't really have any before then, because I really never thought of myself as having lack and scarcity stories till I really started thinking about it. And I'm like, oh, I see how lack and scarcity thinking has impacted me over the years. What if I hadn't had any of those false beliefs or thoughts or fears or worries or doubts or uncertainty? So today we're just going to think about the stories we tell ourselves and the stories we tell other people. Oh, I can't afford to send my kid to private school. Oh, I can't afford to go on vacation with you. Oh, I can't afford a new car and my clunker's on its last leg, etc., etc., etc. What stories do we tell other people, and what stories do we tell ourselves that are reinforcing lack and scarcity in us? Share one in the comments below. Be brave. Come on. We can all share one. And then I will be with you tomorrow. We're talking about, let me take a peek ahead, because I think this is kind of a heavy, negative, downer topic. Ooh, tomorrow we're going to talk about hard work. That's a fun one. That's one of my favorite topics. All right. So one of my least favorite topics to one of my favorite topics. Any questions? If I can help you in any way, ask. Otherwise, have an absolutely awesome day, and I'll be with you tomorrow. Bye.